We thought so. SVP is mixing things up, and digital TV, it'll never be the same.
SVP TV, we're family. We're gonna make you fall in love with SVP.
Download the SVP app today on Roku, Apple, and Fire TV. Watch us. You know why?
We're gonna make you fall in love with SVP TV.
Tune in to Talking Law with Attorney Daryl O'Neill and the special guest host, Attorney Jerome Payne. Live TV talk on your digital device on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Download the SVP TV app right now. Check us out every Tuesday on Comcast Cable, Channel 17, 8:30 p.m. And we are live every Friday on Facebook Live, 6 o'clock in the evening. You've got a question, our attorneys have the answer. So let's talk law with Attorney Daryl O'Neill on the SVP TV network.
Welcome to Talking Law with Daryl O'Neill. I'm your host. I got my main man, Jerome. What's up there? Man, another day in the neighborhood.
Absolutely, man.
Hey, look, we need to say, we got to get these people engaged, man.
Okay.
Hey, Facebook, man, I need you to call. I need you to get in the game, man. Facebook, I need you here.
Yes.
We giving you free consults, free call-ins, free whatever you want to ask about, you can do that.
And you'll be on TV, your friends, your
Man,
neighbors,
you can-
and cousins will hear your voice.
Man, you can tell Pookie to listen to me. Pookie, it's me.
Absolutely, yes.
But also if you got Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, there's one other. So Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, and the SVP TV network
That's
app.
it. That's it.
And you got the app. You can watch live or watch anytime you want to.
That's it.
The other thing, so welcome to California. My son is in California now, so welcome to California. Welcome to West Memphis. I'm sorry, Little Rock. Welcome to West Memphis.
Yes.
Welcome to Shelby County, Memphis. Welcome to Mississippi, because we're right on the borderline here.
Yes.
And Mom, welcome to the great state of Missouri.
All right. And then there, of course, it seems like almost every time now we come on the air, there's a disaster that's broken out somewhere.
Yeah.
Florida,
Mhm.
South Carolina, all our friends and neighbors, we're praying for you guys.
We are.
Just hang in there.
Yes.
Hang in there.
Yeah, I mean, tragedy is just something terrible. So, our hopes and prayers are out there for everybody.
No question about it.
And dealing with those scenarios. So, Jerome, I want to talk to you about an interesting subject today.
Okay. Okay.
I want to talk to you. So, this has a twist on it, and it's kind of the.
Oh yeah, we love twists.
This has a twist
man.
on it.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about, bankruptcy,
Okay.
but then how that intertwines with child support.
Okay.
And how that intertwines when you fail to identify assets that you need to identify when you're filing bankruptcy
And domestic relations.
in domestic relations.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
And remember now, we're just talking generally and not specifically
Right.
about any particular case. In fact, we are doing almost like a law school exam.
Yeah.
What we're doing is putting the facts out there,
Yeah.
and then we're trying to mold a response, appropriate response. And maybe you and I can agree what the appropriate response is.
I like that.
All right.
So, Jerome, here's a question.
Okay.
So, you are married, not married, dating, not dating,
So
but at the end of the day, you got a kid.
So you cohabitate.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, at somewhere in this relationship, you end up with a child.
Okay.
Can you waive child support?
Well, then let's do this. Let's say this. All right. So we know, and it is a fact that the law requires that parents support children.
Right.
No question about that, right?
No, absolutely no
Okay.
question about that.
So, in fact, until they reach the age of majority in Tennessee, some states require that you continue to go to college and do some other things, but Tennessee just requires that you support a child until the age of majority. Okay. Now, so say for instance, I'm in a relationship and a child is born, then that responsibility falls even more so now with the new child support guidelines. They take in consideration, it used to be just the time, most of the time that men would be responsible for child support, right? But now in this new age where they look at the income of both the female parent and the male parent to determine their incomes, to decide how much support is required, okay? So now that we have the basics.
And then they do some dividing based off who had the number of time, or the amount of time that somebody's gonna live in whichever house.
My God, yeah,
So
that's
if you're gonna
right.
live in here 50%, then you may not, if you're gonna live 60%, 70%, that's how the numbers are
Oh my
divvied out.
God, Derek.
It's my understanding.
You hit upon it. And the amount of time that you spend with the child
Right.
can increase or decrease the amount of your child support, right?
Right.
So now we got the baseline. So say for instance, I don't ever pay a dime to support.
I think to answer the
My
question,
child.
well, disgusting, but but that's a whole nother issue.
Okay.
I think the issue is deeper than that.
Okay.
I think the issue, because people do this all the time, can I waive or decide that I'm not going to put somebody on child support?
There was a time when you could, where the parents could contract with one another to forgive the support, okay? But that time is over with because it's a case that says that you can't do that.
No, yeah.
Because the support does not belong to the parent,
Right.
it belongs to the child.
Belongs to the child.
So that's no longer a
Right.
possibility, is that right?
That would be my understanding.
Okay.
So if you didn't pay child support,
Right,
and just because the child is no longer a child,
right.
and you got away without paying, because I'm gonna say got away, because man, you pull some nonsense. Okay, if you ain't paid, now I don't. And fellas, if
You
you
can
ain't
run, but you can't
hold
hide.
up. Hey, fellas, if you get mad because I'm talking trash because you trifling by not paying child support, I don't care.
Right.
Because I think that if you have a child, that is your responsibility.
That's no question
And
about it.
and I don't, So, but anyway, so if you have gotten away by not paying child support for the 18 years of that child's life, you do not get. You can still be responsible after the child reaches the age of majority.
And there, I'm so glad you said that too, because I have seen some arrears on child support that absolutely will blow your mind. 30,000, 40,000 worth of arrears. So that also tells us too that it's cumulative when you don't do it. So that also indicates too that there's no way to avoid it. Okay, so you agree with that?
I do.
Okay,
I do.
So
I
there we
don't
are.
know. I do.
Okay, so there we are.
Man, I don't. I'm probably the worst person when you start talking about domestic violence and things. I mean, domestic relation matters.
Okay.
Because number one, I don't do it.
Right. And I don't do it. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you put that out there as a disclaimer from the very beginning. I have not done a divorce in over 25 or 26 years.
Yeah.
So, and when the last time you did one? Have you ever done one?
I've done one where I worked the hell out of the other lawyer, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I've done one, and I've done it poorly in my mind.
And I did maybe 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And so somebody would call the office and say, must be to Mr. Payne because he did my divorce back in a certain day. And absolutely, we know that's incorrect because I've not done one in 25 years because of all of the problems that occur in it.
Yeah.
But child support is mandatory.
Yeah.
And so
It's not waivable.
there is
It's
an
not a waivable.
enforcement agent
Right.
who does it. So that's the question becomes, can you avoid it? And in my mind, the answer is no.
Yeah, I don't, look, for whatever reason, so here's my understanding, Jerome, correct me, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
And here's what I've always believed my understanding of what child support is. So, if you have a husband and wife or a mother and a father living together, right,
Right.
they have expenses.
That's right.
And the law says that, well, the law doesn't care, But because they are together, they assume those expenses 50-50.
That's right.
Now, maybe in reality that's not happening, but, for the sake of argument, they could assume those expenses 50-50. So that means that somebody's got to pay for half of the rent, somebody's got to pay for half of the groceries, somebody's got to pay for half of the utilities, and so on and so forth.
And for the child's benefit.
No. I ain't talking about the child now.
Oh, you're some, well,
I'm gonna get there.
Okay, well, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Let me-
You done skipped over me now,
let me
man.
lay
I
back.
ain't got there yet.
Let me lay
'Cause-
back.
So, and what I'm saying is, if two people live in a place, we assume that they're splitting expenses
Right.
equally.
Right.
You can't live anywhere for free.
That's right.
So if you're living there, you got to pay some of the expenses. So let's assume that two adults living in a place will split those responsibilities 50-50. Okay? Now, if there's a child in the middle of that,
Okay.
right, and one of those adults leave, right,
Right.
the child can't afford to pay his 50% share
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only person living with the other person, right?
That's right.
So normally it would be split 50-50.
Right.
But the child he can't work.
That's right.
He ain't got no money. So they can't split, they can't pay their portion.
That's right.
But they're going to eat, they're going to live, they're going to use the utilities,
Mhm.
so they can't pay their portion.
Mhm.
The law says child support is what pays their portion.
Oh, okay.
That's all it is.
Right.
It is something put in place to pay the child's living expenses.
Right. Okay.
That's what it is.
Right.
So can you waive it? No,
Answer is no.
because you can't live anywhere for free.
Right.
So the child can't live there for free.
Right.
That child has to pull their load, a load that they can't afford,
Can't afford. Right.
doesn't have the ability to make,
Right.
but they're going to eat.
I like that. Yeah.
And so child support makes up their
I
portion.
like that.
Now, if the child lives 50-50, right, that means that the person will pay half and the other person will be paying half.
Mhm.
So it will be a wash. Because if they're spending 50% of their time in different locations, then there's an argument it may be a wash.
Mhm.
I don't know the answer to that question.
And I think you're right. I think it's broken down into like 28 days or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
They have scientifically mathematically broken
Yeah.
down into
Oh, yeah.
times and
Yeah.
days and stuff
Oh,
like that.
man, they
Yeah.
got it down to a science, man. I
Right.
mean, it's, so, so that is an obligation, and it's my understanding and my belief that it's a non-waivable obligation. So once there was a case that came out, again, I'm the nerd guy, and I read all these cases.
Right.
There was a case that came out where a child sued their father after they reached the age of majority. And what happened is the mother waived it. She didn't take it. She didn't, require it. She didn't do whatever. But this child, if you would have calculated the numbers up, the number for support for that child's spot was this amount of money.
Okay.
So they sued. And the Court of Appeals said that expense has to be paid.
Oh, wow.
It's a non-waivable expense and it has to be paid.
Interesting. And so the mother had no standing to waive support
Yeah.
for the child. Is
Yeah,
that what it came down like
yeah,
that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think in this case, it may have been a scenario where some other guy was identified as this child's father, but he wasn't.
Oh.
And then that person had paid support for a period of time. So I think that all factored in to,
Okay.
how this thing unfolded itself.
Okay.
So, if you owe that expense, or if you're not paying that expense, number one, I think the law says you're wrong,
Right.
and the law says you're responsible and you can't waive that.
Right. Okay.
So what happens if, in fact, the reason why you're not paying child support is that the woman that has the child, you have put them out of their house.
Mm.
No, you kick them out like a thief in the night. You kick the woman out and the child out.
Okay.
And so they are so scared that they don't even attempt to challenge you for child support because of the fear factor.
That's right. Okay.
But their life is such in a shamble, and their expenses are so out of control. They gotta get get a fresh start.
Right.
That's what I call bankruptcy.
And that's exactly right.
They got to get a fresh start.
That's good.
And they got to get a fresh start, but they need to have a way to drive,
That's
transportation. They may or may not need a place to live. Actually, they do need a place to live.
Yes.
So they have to do a Chapter 13 because a Chapter 7 liquidates all that, right?
That's right.
So they have to do a Chapter 13 so that they can be able to use that car and be able to use some of the other stuff.
That's exactly right. And what has happened is that they have tried to find a means to substitute for the missing support by using the Chapter 13 to reduce those expenses that are no longer, that other support is no longer there. So it kind of splits the expenses in half to make it reasonable for the spouse to go forward.
Well, because an asset that parent would be entitled to, do you put child support in a bankruptcy petition?
You can.
No. I'm talking about that you receive it.
To show that it's been coming in?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And if it's not coming in, isn't that an asset that you should have disclosed?
Interesting.
Because
Well, wait a minute. You said it's not coming in, so there's nothing to disclose because it's not coming.
it's not coming in, but it's supposed to come in.
Right.
So it's an asset that's supposed to be coming in
That's right.
that you didn't disclose.
Interesting.
Think about it.
But no,
You're supposed to have it.
Well, actually not, because there are tons of people who file Chapter 13s or Chapter 7s, and when they have 2 or 3 children, and you ask them, are you receiving child support? Answer most of the time is no.
But they're supposed to.
Oh, absolutely, they're supposed to be.
But so, just because it's an asset that you're supposed to receive,
Right.
doesn't mean the court penalize that asset. It's an asset that you have to disclose. For instance, if you have a lawsuit,
Okay.
right, that's ongoing,
Right.
you haven't made a dime on it, you have to disclose the value of that lawsuit, even though it hadn't come to fruition.
That's true.
So child support, even though it hadn't come to fruition, that's an asset that you are entitled to, that you're supposed to get. You hadn't gotten it, but it's an asset.
I've never heard it described like that.
Oh man, that's because you ain't got me, mate.
Right.
Dog, hey man, I keep telling y'all, man, I'm a thinking man lawyer, man. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them smucks, man.
But it's called it's liquidated, non-liquidated, contingent.
Yeah.
Contingent. I was trying to say the words, I use them every day and I can't think of them right now. But it's contingent when you don't know the value.
Absolutely.
Of it, but you know it's out there
Yeah.
somewhere. So yeah, it's required to be disclosed.
So-
right.
Because there you go where I'm going.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But because child support is non-waivable, right? You can't waive that asset.
You're absolutely right. But then I just thought about something. You can always amend a petition at any time.
So
You can even reopen a case to is it reasonable for me not to do it for fear of something else that's coming down the road? In other words, I have an abusive spouse. I've already been attacked coming down the road. In other words, I have an abusive spouse. I've already been attacked before. I've had to call the police to my home several times. And ultimately, I had no choice but to get a restraining order to prevent me and my child from being harmed. So is it reasonable for me not to
do we
disclose?
have police reports?
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Is it reasonable for me not to disclose my address or to do anything that possibly would bring me in contact with this individual who I'm fearful of? Or, in today's time there, or I know I'm going to get myself in trouble. You see what I'm saying? So, is that reasonable? And the answer to that is yes.
So you have to Because I do believe you can't pick and choose these assets. And I think child support, like ownership and whatever, would be an asset.
Right.
But if you don't disclose an asset, there's an argument that you can't let her say that you have an asset because you didn't disclose that asset.
Well, okay, another thing there. I didn't know I had an asset. Remember? It's like in a lawsuit, remember, the statute of limitation runs when you determine that you have an injury.
Discovery of the rule.
All right,
Yeah.
so by the same token, I never knew that it starts out not being there, but as you build it to a certain point, then it becomes co-ed.
Mhm.
So I didn't even know it was there until it was brought to my attention. In other words, I've been going to my doctor over and over again, and no one has ever told me that my tests were coming back with a high PSA.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden, I changed doctors, and bam, there it is. And the doctor said, you go to the doctor for just a routine, and next thing you know, the ambulance is there to rush you to the hospital because they saw something on your on your film, on your X-ray, or they saw it in your lab work, or they saw it, or they heard it when they were checking your breathing. You got rackles, rails, or something.
Oh, man. That does take us, ooh.
Yeah. I'm not no poop lawyer either. It's my 29th year doing this.
Yeah. I like that. I'm just, and when you sit, so here's the problem, Joe. If you really sit down and have a developed conversation with your client, you could really weird yourself out.
Absolutely. Because remember, and you and I said it all the time. That's why your initial interview with a client is so important. There, even when you go to the physician, the history. That's why they want a history, so they can develop a diagnosis based on what you tell them. You have no idea what's going on. Your foot is hurting, and you think that's where your pain is, but not necessarily. It could be. It's in your brain somewhere that the problem is at. But you only know that by collecting a history. And so that's the same thing we're talking about now, is why did you not do it? Well, I didn't do it because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then there are two. If you can get to that point where the judge won't even like the person because they're so obnoxious, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you start saying, when you cross and examine,
Yeah.
why you do so and so? I bet to be out.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well,
And I didn't think that was my son anyway.
yeah.
She said it before. My neighbor told me, believe that. Because she could ask for a jury as well.
We can. I mean, Jerome, this gets a lot deeper than we really, this is real deep. This got a lot of layers.
No
Man,
question.
you know what? I was talking to Juliet Akins.
Okay.
And man,
One great lawyer.
Yeah, Juliet, man, I think, man, we probably need to put her in the middle of our conversation
Okay.
on this. I think I want to do more with this.
Okay.
I think I want to do more with this.
Okay.
And so, and she does a combination of domestic and bankruptcy.
And bankruptcy.
So
work. I know
she
her
could,
very well.
yeah, so she could really, because I'm the idiot. I'm the village
Well,
idiot. And
well,
then y'all
yeah.
two can, educate
it's-
me.
Well, what has happened there, excuse me, we have made idiot or ignorance be a bad word. Bad words. They are not.
They're not.
They simply mean, I don't know.
No.
And so the idiot or the ignorant person is one who will not admit that I don't know,
Yeah.
and run on and move forward, you know. And we've seen it. We've seen people think that they're talking themselves out of a traffic ticket, and in fact, they are indicting themselves.
You go, hey, and I was just joking, and I'm digressing because we get ready to close out. You know, I tell people every time when the police tell you you have a right to remain silent, ain't nothing that you can say after that gonna get you out of being arrested.
And you're not going home.
Ain't even going home. So when they say you have a right to remain silent, that means shut up.
That's exactly right.
You know, you got a right to a lawyer. Hey, I want a lawyer.
That's right.
Shut up. And I want a lawyer.
And I watch Law and Order sometimes. They said, and some of the criminals so sophisticated said, LAWYER. Lawyer.
All right, y'all. Hey, look, I want to bring a guest next week. I'm going to talk to her and see if I can
Okay.
get her in as a guest.
That'd be nice.
And you know, we're gonna play some more with this domestic relation stuff because
It's very important.
It is.
Too, during this period of time, too, Daryl.
yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you for watching the show. We'll see you back next week.
Ladies, do you feel feminine during your feminine flow?
We'll see you back next week.
Ladies, do you feel feminine during your feminine flow? You know, your monthly cycle, your period? Are you still suffering in silence? The suffering is over. It's time to choose Rain. Rain is an all-natural, premium sanitary napkin with 8 layers of cotton, high-grade polymers, graphene to help cut bacteria by 99.9%. Ladies, let's protect the most precious jewel in the world, you.
Rain Premium Sanitary Napkins do not